I'd like to call this special meeting of the Bellingham City Council to order. Tonight we have one item on our agenda, and that will be the appointment of election and appointment of a new city council member to fill the vacant seat for the 3rd Ward. So we'll start with flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Terry Borneman.
Here.
Gene Knutson.
Here.
Michael Lillquist.
Here.
Roxanne Murphy.
Here.
Pinky Vargas.
Here.
Jack Weiss.
Here.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight, and especially welcome those individuals who are applying for the vacant seat for the 3rd Ward City Council position. The way this will work tonight, we have 5 applicants remaining, 4 of whom will be making presentations before us today. The 5th, Andrew Redding, had previous commitments to be in Washington, D.C., is unable to be here. We will be considering his applications as we will be considering the other candidates, but he was unable to be here for this presentation. Monday night, we drew candidates' names for the order in which they will address the council. After each person, I'll call each person's name, they'll come forward and address the council for up to 5 minutes. After everyone has spoken, we will adjourn for an executive session to discuss qualifications of candidates. We won't be making decisions. We will then come back, and I will bring the meeting back to order, and I will at that time accept nominations from council members. At the end of nominations, we will vote on the candidate in the order nominations come in. The first candidate that receives 4 votes will be the new city council person. Council members will have 1 vote per round. If no one receives 4 votes on the first round, we will adjourn again for executive session. We will come back and I will open it up again for nominations, and everyone will be open for those nominations, and we will do that until one candidate receives 4 votes. So with that said, let the games begin. The order in which candidates will be speaking tonight will be Scott Barge, Iris Malte-Gibson, Daniel Hamill, and Michelle McGee. So the first person to speak tonight will be Scott Barge. Scott, if you would like to come forward.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Linville, fellow applicants, Bellingham citizens and residents. My name is Scott Barg, and I'm honored to be among the group of us here to speak with you tonight. We have a great group of applicants for the 3rd Ward Council position. We may differ some on details, but all of us are committed to working for a better Bellingham. The Council will be in good hands with any of us. And that says a lot about the depth of resource and commitment in our community. So, why choose me? I care about my community, and my experience tells me that I can make a difference, that I have something to offer. My skills and knowledge, a record of improving how government delivers results, development and follow-through of budgeting and policy priorities, and a long history of engagement with the waterfront process all complement and strengthen the Council's already considerable and proven ability to work on behalf of this community. But there's more to it than that. I love this town so much that I moved here twice. The first time was over 30 years ago, and although we have lived in other places in the intervening years, my partner Betsy Hasegawa and I returned 11 years ago because we missed this place and the strong connections that we had here. Shortly after we got settled, I acted on the news I had been following from a distance and attended every waterfront-related meeting that I could. I was recruited onto the board of the Bellingham Bay Foundation, working to ensure that Bellingham would get a clean waterfront to replace the contaminated industrial site that's still in the process of cleanup today. Later, I had a chance to serve on the PDA, Public Development Authority, where I saw a real opportunity to deliver a community-based vision of redevelopment. While we were unable to do all that we wanted, the PDA delivered crucial information that I believe will serve the community well as we work through future proposals for developing the waterfront. Looking back, what I'm most proud of in my career is helping public sector organizations to make decisions about tough, complex problems. In particular, I'm proud of developing frameworks that help government agencies to make better decisions by including environmental, social, and other metrics on an even par with economic factors. But more important than the right framework, leadership is essential to get this hard work done. Leadership's not about having all the answers. Leadership is also not about getting people to do what you want them to do. Persuasion's a useful skill, but it's not the same as leadership. For me, real leadership begins with a more humble approach, listening and observing enough to identify the challenges we face, and then engaging all of us in finding solutions. Real listening means seeking out different voices, the people that we think we don't agree with, the voices we're not comfortable hearing. There are real challenges ahead. The good news is that most of the solutions are right here in our community if we're willing to pay attention, listen, and engage each other. We're blessed with a well-informed and involved citizens. Regardless of whether I'm passionate about the same issues that you are, I'm passionate about making sure your voices are heard. As Bellingham grows both in numbers and diversity, our decision-making processes become necessarily more complex. As chairperson of the PDA, I've been involved in budget work sessions with all of you, and I know sometimes tough decisions are needed. My listening and analytical skills could be useful here in this coming period, I think, as we face many complex, interrelated issues that need to be addressed in a comprehensive way. One issue that I would like to give some special attention to is how we engage our community. Bellingham is growing more diverse, and while we've made great strides in making City Hall a welcoming place that reflects our larger community, I believe we can do even more. As we move forward, I'd like to see us move beyond the concepts of tolerance and inclusion to engage in to go to real engagement. I'd like Bellingham to be a place where anyone, people of color, LGBTQ folks, young people, elders, people who have traditionally been on the margins, can see themselves as central. I don't know how exactly to do this, but I do know if we begin and work together, we'll find a way. I have loved serving Bellingham, loved being part of making the city work better, and whether or not I'm chosen today as the representative for the 3rd Ward, I know I will continue to work with you to make our community better, fairer, and a more livable place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. One of the things I did forget to mention when Scott came up, but boy, his timing's great, was that Linda will be placing a card up when speakers hit 4 minutes, just as so they know where they're at with it. Yeah. We like the buzzer for them. Yeah, but so our next speaker is Iris.
Thank you, council members, Mayor Linville, to my family, to my friends, to my colleagues, and to the community who are here tonight and who are watching at home. And happy Hanukkah. Tonight I want to share with you why I'm here, as well as my deep roots in Bellingham, the collaborative representation skills I would bring to this role, and the fresh perspective that makes me uniquely qualified for this role. My reason for applying is quite simple. I believe that when we engage in local government, we have the power and the responsibility to make life better for everyone in our community. We can help our city grow without losing neighborhood character. We can protect our environment and invest more in protecting our natural resources. And we can provide a sense of place and a quality of life for our neighbors. Big changes in our community are almost always made in small steps, and I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and chase the small victories that accumulate to the broad impacts. I've always been invested in Bellingham and in the conversations shaping our present and our future. After graduating from Bellingham High School, I earned a degree in political science at Western Washington University. Leading student lobbying efforts in Olympia, I protected funding for our university and access for students like me who were being priced out of a higher education. I built collaborative and transparent relationships with elected officials and with stakeholders statewide, as well as with the Mayor's Neighborhood Advisory Commission, with City Council, and with the Campus Community Coalition. I've worked in many sectors of our city, from local businesses to nonprofits, worked with neighborhood associations, as well as our environmental organizations. As a member of the Lake Whatcom Watershed Advisory Board, I promote the stewardship and protection of our watershed by diligently asking questions and seeking answers. We need to make decisive and transparent decisions on council, guided by principles and not politics, particularly as we approach our comprehensive plan and the future of Bellingham. I'm a collaborative leader who cares about getting the process right and not just the right vote. And I'm willing to stand alone when necessary. After living in 6 Bellingham neighborhoods, I'm looking forward to working closely with each neighborhood to accommodate growth and infill that will benefit our city while meeting the unique needs of each of our neighborhoods. Our best public servants bring their whole selves to the job. I'm a millennial, representing the largest and most diverse population of Bellingham. 46% of Bellinghamsters are millennials. We are civic-minded, dedicated to furthering progressive values, and hopeful, despite entering the workforce in some tough economic times. I'm a young professional, I'm a feminist, a queer, smart trips using outdoor enthusiast, and I grew up right here in Bellingham on reduced lunch. I will bring all of these parts of myself to City Council as your colleague and as your representative. I will champion creating a sense of place and a quality of life for everyone in our community. Please give me the opportunity to be an ambassador for millennials in Bellingham, and I will model transparency and engagement as I've done throughout this appointment process. I'd like to close with a story. On Monday's City Council meeting, when I was sitting over here at the committee meeting, a nice gal sat with me and we started talking, and she told me that she doesn't have internet at home. She'd never been to a council meeting before. She's quite busy as she's caring for her 2 grandchildren and for 2 apartment houses, which she's a renter for. But she had read in the paper about this rental licensing, and boy, she did not like the idea of it. And we were talking about it, and I thought, oh boy, well, as you know, I very much have been a long advocate of the rental safety program and was so happy to be there on that historic day. And so I thought, well, I could, when she asked me, she said, I really want to speak out about this issue, and I haven't had the opportunity to do so yet. Is it worth still presenting at the council meeting tonight? And I thought I could either try to not talk to her and pretend to be working on something, or tell her it's not worth it because we've had 15 meetings on this for 15 years and everyone's spoken, or I could pretend like I agreed with her. Instead, I told her that I think it's really important that she come that night, and that I hope that she did. And when she came at 7, I waved her over and told her where she needed to stand, how long she had, and where she was going to come speak. And as she presented, I was really proud. And when she came back and said thank you to me, I realized that that was one of helping her share her views and watching council then pass this landmark ordinance after receiving so much input was one of the most gratifying experiences. So in closing, thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure to put my best foot forward for this position. I thank you for this opportunity and for everyone in Bellingham who's inspired me to step up and lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Our next candidate to speak is Daniel.
Good evening. My name is Dan Hamill, and I'm applying for the current vacancy for Ward 3 for Bellingham City Council. I'm applying because I want to work on behalf of the things that make Bellingham a great place: a strong sense of community, healthy families, distinct neighborhoods, our local businesses and nonprofit providers, and access to open spaces and greenways. I envision a community that embraces its unique character as it continues to grow and thrive. In this growth, we face challenges and opportunities that both reflect and define us by the choices that we make. Wise choices around land use, economic development, housing, transportation, infrastructure development, neighborhood preservation, and the waterfront will affect Bellingham for generations. Some of the blueprints for these choices are found in our comprehensive and consolidated plans, the Mayor's Community Solutions Work Groups, the Community Health Improvement Plan, and the city's strategic commitments and legacies. While these working plans provide a strong framework, we have an opportunity to write the ongoing narrative of what our city will look like through careful, continued stewardship, robust and healthy dialogue, critical thinking, and ongoing collaborations with stakeholders, the very spade and shovel work of good governance and representational leadership. I've lived in Bellingham for 25 years and have been engaged in the community in many ways, from being a literacy tutor to serving as president of the York Neighborhood Association. My wife, Kelly Bashaw, a longtime member of the Bellingham School Board, and I are proud Culshan CLT homeowners in the Sunnyland neighborhood. For 9 years as a program director at the Volunteer Center, I engaged local citizens in working with our excellent nonprofit community to address issues ranging from environmental restoration, education, health, and vocational readiness. And during that time, I co-founded Bellingham Whatcom Project Homeless Connect, an event that has helped thousands of people access essential human services. In 2012, as campaign manager for the Bellingham Home Fund, I helped lead an effort to provide affordable housing for seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, and families with low incomes. And for the past 4 years, I've served on the City of Bellingham's Community Development Advisory Board. As chair of CDAB, I work with my colleagues to be careful stewards of how our home fund and human service dollars are allocated. What has become evident from these experiences is that in order to move forward on issues that benefit the public, the basic building blocks of collaboration must be in place: listening to others, rigorous and objective analysis, respecting diverse opinions, and moving towards a common vision are essential as we make choices around public policy, decisions on land use and growth, and how we continue to maintain and develop our infrastructure. If I am fortunate enough to be appointed to represent Ward 3, I will seek election next year for this position. Thank you for your consideration, and I would be honored to have your vote.
Thank you, Dan. The next candidate to speak is Michelle.
Thank you all for being here and participating in this process tonight. I'm Michelle McGee, mom, super volunteer, teacher, environmental and social justice activist. I'm honored to be here among these applicants for your consideration. It's been difficult thinking what might distinguish me from these other fine candidates. We all seem to be aligned in our values in terms of environmental and social justice issues. And looking at the comprehensive plan survey update, it seems that those respondents, the voters I've spoken with, council and applicants, all agree. We value Bellingham's vast recreational opportunities, sense of place, and quality of life. And we agree there's need for improvement in the areas of planning and land use, transportation, crime, and homelessness. We'd like to encourage quality infill and walkable mixed-use neighborhoods. And I imagine we understand the need to be attractive to young people in order to create business and living wage jobs as well. I asked my girls what would convince you to pick me, and they said, tell them about how awesome we are, and then they'll have to pick you for doing such an amazing job with us. We laughed too, and then I decided that they were right. I've been a mother for 19 years to 4 daughters. The experience has given me many skills that are applicable here. As a single parent on a limited income in a small apartment with 4 daughters, I do know something about managing resources and sustainability. I know a lot about wrestling with bureaucracies. When a high school administration couldn't accept the fact that one of my daughters was falling through the cracks, I spent over 2 years fighting to secure an IEP that was essential for her success. Because another daughter has a physical disability, I spent many hours negotiating with insurance companies to secure treatments her doctors recommended. I do have experience standing firm and negotiating with organizations for the best outcome of those in need. But my perseverance and adaptability started early in life. I was a throwaway child. I was born into poverty to damaged teenage parents, sexually assaulted, and nearly killed before I learned to tie my shoes. This beginning put me on a path that led to other assaults, teenage couch surfing, homelessness, and a long-term abusive relationship. Recovering from systemic generational violence is a long, messy task. It's taken years of remediation and sacrifice. For instance, I chose to live off a limited income and stay home mostly full-time. It was a choice made from seeing that the long-term benefits of my girls having a full-time parent and providing them with the extra attention and services they needed would one day have an invaluable payoff. It has. I do have experience in making tough calls and sacrifices in favor of long-term benefits for the greater good. Thankfully, I've always had the fortune of finding community. Bellingham, through Opportunity Council, DVSAS, Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship, Hope House, and so many others, helped us break away and recover from domestic violence. Gratitude-driven, my family is dedicated to always trying to give back and paying it forward in Bellingham. This dedication has been seen by the 150 or so of my endorsers. They've watched the McGirls regularly participating in the community. We do it as family time to repay you, to heal ourselves, and because we know just how lucky we are. We want to be people that help create a little more luck for more people. That's how my kids became awesome, by giving thanks in the form of service to their community. It's how I gained invaluable experience as a volunteer, collaborating, leading, studying issues by working on boards, teams, and organizations with community leaders, all in an effort to say, thanks, Bellingham. In doing so, I gained the trust of my supporters that I'll be open-minded without surrendering my core values, my commitment to social justice, the environment, and preserving this place for our children. My supporters come from a broad array of backgrounds. Some groups of people, like single moms, low-income folks, activists in the queer community, are excited by the idea of having representation on council. I think what accounts for my broader appeal is that every one of us has been through trials and tribulations. We all want to be seen and heard. My experience as a survivor is what unites my supporters' belief in the power of my strength, my empathy, and my optimism. When you've walked through fire and you've come out the other side healed and well, it's hard to see anything as hopeless. If ever there was a hopeless case, it might be me. But here I am, and here are my kids, and certainly the toughest of Bellingham's issues do not come close to hopeless. Now, you must decide who among these fine candidates will best complement what you already have. Who will best collaborate and openly communicate with you, push new ideas forward, add to your perspectives to more fully represent Bellingham, and who might be the most dedicated in pursuing policies that protect our children's future. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Michelle. We're going to have a tough decision. I again want to thank all the candidates. As folks can see, we have 5 very qualified candidates who bring very different skill sets, different backgrounds, for us to look at 4 who presented tonight, and the presentations unfortunately didn't help whittle it down. Unfortunately, we can only appoint one person, so no matter who we appoint, there's going to be 4 other well-qualified people left, and that's kind of a shame. So I hope that whoever stays involved in the process, because anyone I'd be proud to serve with. But unfortunately, again, we're only going to be able to appoint one. So I think we will adjourn now.
Gary, before we
Yes.
go,
Yeah.
you know, we usually don't allow clapping in chambers, but I think all of these people deserve a big
Yes.
round of applause.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah. I was amazed at how well everyone that was here knew that rule, and I didn't even have to say anything. Yeah. So we will adjourn to executive session. We will be back in within 5 hours. Well, for now, yeah. we should be back within 10 minutes. If it's longer, I'll be out to say. So we are now adjourned to executive session. Yeah. Sorry for running a little over, but I will call the meeting to order as soon as all members do return, and I did.
We're decision makers.
When we started
Oh, we
fist
haven't made
fighting,
any
it was time to
decisions.
get out of there.
Yep. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. We have been in executive session. While in executive session, basically what we did is we started with candidate and the order in which they spoke, and we just discussed qualifications, what we knew, what we heard, kind of things. And so that was basically the extent of what we did in it, in terms of we didn't ask who anyone was supporting or other things. It was just to discuss qualifications and how, what other things we'd heard tonight, and from applications and from community. So I will now open it up for nominations. Gene?
Mr. President, members of the public, this has been a very tough decision. After meeting all the candidates and going through everything, this is a very tough decision, and I've had to make a lot of them over the years. But I'm going to nominate for the vacant seat on the Bellingham City Council, 3rd Ward, Dan Hamill.
Okay. Do I have any other nominations? Do I have any other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, we will close, and all those in favor of Dan Hamill, please answer aye.
Aye.
Dan, you are our new city councilman from the 3rd Ward. You know, I want to thank all the other candidates, because this is hard. This is very hard. There was no bad candidates here. I mean, everyone, you know, really good. But when you've got so many good candidates stacked against each other, it's really, yeah. Okay. Michael, and then Pinky.
Thank you. I just want to say something similar. Every single candidate I considered very seriously and thought about and could imagine them serving. And when I met with them, in every single case, my estimation went up, including Mr. Redding. It was a very difficult decision, and I hope everyone who did put their name in understands that. Thank you very much for your applications.
Pinky?
I just wanted to thank all the applicants as well, and just say what a great experience this was, and how proud I am of some of these applicants for stepping forward. And there's elections next year. It ain't over. So, you know, if you're taking your first steps, know that it's a long journey. And I encourage you to keep moving forward, and there'll be another time. Thank you.
Yes, Roxanne.
Well, I just want to say that many of you might not realize I ran for office for the first time in Tacoma, and I lost. I lost in front of 200,000 people. But the thing is, you take these experiences and you learn from them. You grow and you understand exactly what it takes to get yourself up there. And don't let this discourage you in any way or fashion, because there's always going to be seats on councils. There's always going to be times to run, because I think you guys all have a unique set of qualifications. So I hope everybody will stay involved. Thank you.
And yes, Jack.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody that has applied, and the work that you went and put into getting your support from the community, and in putting your thoughts together and being able to present this evening. You know, when we're working on the council, when we're voting, we're typically voting in a unanimous way, and everybody's happy. And in the worst possible case, it's, 50% of the people are unhappy. And 50% are happy. In this unfortunate situation, we're walking away with, with 1 out of 5 people that had applied is the one that's stepping forward, and the other 4 did not get it. And that's an unfortunate part of what we're doing here. But, there's more people that did not get what they wanted instead of the one person that did get what they wanted. And it's an unusual situation for us to go and be involved in a disparity like that.
Yeah.
But I think everybody did a really good job. Very impressed with the quality of what we heard.
Yeah, and like Roxanne, I've been in the same position as the other 4 candidates. I applied for a appointment when Joy Keenan stepped down from the council, and that was about 20 years ago. And I went through that process, and I didn't get the appointment. And I really thought, and I knew I was the best qualified candidate there. I still say that. But I didn't get it. And the first time I ran for office, I didn't win in the county council race. But I was committed to be involved with the community and got convinced to run for city council when it came up again, and enjoyed doing it. But this is a really hard one. We had to look. This isn't an appointment. Isn't like an election in this case, because an election many times is a popularity contest, I mean, you walk out and you knock on doors, you convince the most people. Here, we're looking at not only those kinds of things, but we're looking at who we feel can step in and fill out a remaining position and be up to speed the quickest. Who is, so we're looking and get along with this group of people for this, for the remaining year, which is very different than sometimes running and convincing the electorate. And so with Dan, everyone had really good qualifications. For me, with Dan, it's been his involvement with a wide range of things over a long period of time in the city, and many of us having had personal experience and knowing people who know him and his consistency of work. So there's a lot of little intangibles that go into how we make this vote. It has nothing to do with the quality of the candidates that didn't make it, because with Dan out of the way, it's wide open again. I mean, this is hard, but I think we will have a very good city councilman for this year. And Gene?
Yeah, I want to thank the council, too, because like Terry said, 21 years ago, I was in that room, and I thought you were the best then, but we didn't get our way back then. But the way the council has handled this is the 4th time I've been through. I think this has been one of the best we've had. Everybody's kept an open mind. There was no clear front runners and none of that, and Marie did a great job taking the applications, and it's just been a good process. And like they've said, there's no winners or no losers. Everybody's a winner, and it's a tough call. And I just wish Dan the best serving with us, and I wish you all the best.
Roxanne?
I just want to say congratulations, Dan. We can't wait to work with you.
Yeah. And what the process will be now, for tonight, I'm going to have Dan come forward. We have the oath of election to sign. We don't have a judge here tonight, so what we're going to do the official one and register it tomorrow. And then when we do our reorganizational meeting, we will have the judge for the ceremonial swearing in at that time. But upon signing the oath and filing it, Dan, it will be official with it. So we're going to have the signatures and then some handshakes.
Sure.
With it so people know what you're signing.
I, Daniel C. Hamill, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and the laws of the State of Washington, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office of City of Bellingham, Council Ward 3.
Sassing your staff.
And we'll file these over at the county tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll do a ceremonial on camera.
Okay. Is that
On
tomorrow?
camera at our first regular meeting in
January.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look forward to serving.
Likewise.
Do you have to
And if you want, I know everyone wants to shake your hand.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, we're not.